I think there's something almost mythical about the roar of a Harley. To me, it's more than just a motorcycle. It's the soundtrack of freedom, rebellion, and pure Americana. If you've ever twisted the throttle on a Harley, you know exactly what I mean. The rumble hits you in the chest, the kind of raw energy that makes you feel invincible. So today, I want us to look at some of the greatest Harleys ever built. But before we dive in, if you're enjoying this content and want to stay up to date with more stories, tips, and adventures, hit the subscribe button and join me and my fellow riders in this growing community. Now grab your beverage of choice and let's get into it. In at number 10 is the 2007 Nightster. Now this bike wasn't just another Sportster, it was a bold, rebellious statement. And at a time when chrome and polish ruled the roads, the Nightster decided to go dark, and I mean really dark. Harley stripped away every shiny surface, replaced it with shadowy finishes that spoke to the soul of the urban rider. For me, it was love at first sight. The 1200cc Evolution engine got an upgrade with an electronic fuel injection, making it a reliable performer in any weather. It wasn't just about looks though. The lowered suspension and bobbed fenders weren't just for show. They gave the bike a nimbleness that made city streets its playground. I remember the first time I saw one at a bike night, and it felt like Harley had finally made something for a new generation of riders. Something that dared to be different. Dealers couldn't keep them in stock, and it's no wonder why. Now, like I said, this is a 2007 with a 1200cc fuel-injected motor. It's an awesome bike with a super low seat height, which makes it approachable for just about anyone. Traditionally, these bikes came with a solo seat, but one of the things I love about this model is the ability to add a passenger setup. So if you want to bring your better half along for the ride, you're all set. It also features mid-mount controls, which I've always preferred. They give you more control over the bike compared to forward controls, where your feet are kicked out. With mid-mounts, you feel more connected to the machine, making it perfect for both city riding and cruising down the open road. Number 9, the 1984 FXST Softail. Now this wasn't just another cruiser, it was the bike that saved Harley Davidson. Born in the company's darkest hour, the Softail carried the weight of Harley's future, and nailed it. Engineer Bill Davis created a hidden rear suspension that gave riders modern comfort while keeping that classic hardtail look. For me, this bike is a perfect blend of tradition and innovation. The Evolution engine was a revelation. Bulletproof reliable, improved cooling, and power that silenced critics. I've heard stories of these bikes hitting 100,000 miles without breaking a sweat. Number 8, the 2009 Electra Glide Standard. This was pretty much one of the bikes that started the whole street glide trend, ushering in sleek, stripped-down yet refined style. At its core, the Electra Glide Standard was built on Harley Davidson's FLH touring platform, but deliberately pared down, making it a perfect blank canvas for customization. It was less about chrome overload and gadgets, and more about the pure, visceral riding experience. That simplicity is part of what made it special. One of the defining traits of the Electra Glide Standard was that it came with the iconic Batwing fairing, but lacked some of the flashier amenities found in its ultra-classic or street glide siblings. No radio, no rear speakers, and a solo headlight. It was all about clean lines and practicality. It carried a bold, understated elegance that gave riders the freedom to make it their own. And this less is more vibe became immensely appealing. Around this time, the motorcycle culture was shifting. Riders began craving a different kind of touring bike, one that wasn't as weighed down with excessive features or flashy finishes, but still offered the comfort and performance of a long hauler. The Street Glide, which debuted just a few years earlier, captured this vibe and quickly gained traction. The Electra Glide Standard mirrored some of that spirit, but leaned even harder into the stripped-back aesthetic. It was the bike for riders who wanted the bones of a great tourer, but didn't necessarily want to pay for or carry all the extras they didn't need. Number 7, the 1970 XR750, was seen as a total game-changing motorcycle, designed to take on the dominance of British and Japanese racing bikes in the AMA Grand National Championships. The XR750 was born out of necessity, as newly established AMA rules rendered Harley's once successful KR series obsolete. Specifically, the new rules mandated that all racing motorcycles in the AMA Grand National Championships had to use engines with a maximum displacement of 750 cc's, regardless of whether they were overhead valve or side valve configurations. This change meant Harley's side valve KR engines no longer had an advantage over the overhead valve engines used by competitors, prompting the company to rethink and re-engineer its approach to competitive flat-track racing. Harley created a motorcycle that combined maximum power with a lightweight frame, capable of roaring down straightaways at over 100 miles per hour, while effortlessly handling tight, high-speed corners. At the heart of this revolutionary design was a much lighter 750cc aluminum alloy engine, which gave the XR750 the edge it needed. With this innovation, Harley Davidson not only met the new AMA regulations, but also set the stage for a machine that would dominate flat-track racing for the next 40 years. Number 6, the 1958 Duo Glide. This bike is a true icon of Harley Davidson's golden era, and they are incredibly rare today. So if you're lucky enough to own one, then you're holding a piece of history that defined an entire generation of motorcycling. And if you've got one, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. What makes the Duo Glide so special, aside from its rarity, is its unmistakable aesthetic appeal. First off, the chrome and polished aluminum details are pure eye candy. Every curve and line seems to glisten, catching the light in a way that's almost hypnotic. The tank emblems, the trim on the fenders, the gleaming handlebars, it all comes together to create a look that screams vintage Americana. But let's talk about the real star of the show, that iconic panhead motor. The 1958 Duo Glide was one of the last Harley Davidsons to feature the panhead engine before the transition to the shovel head in 1965. There's something about the profile of the panhead that's utterly timeless. The polished rocker covers look almost jewel-like, and the way the motor is framed within the bike's chassis gives it a balanced, almost sculptural quality. You can tell that my first love is a bike, right? But beyond its looks, the Duo Glide represented a huge leap forward in Harley Davidson's engineering. 1958 was the year Harley introduced rear suspension to their Big Twin lineup, a feature that gave the Duo Glide its name. I don't know about you, but besides the Ironhead Sportster, this is by far my favorite Harley engine. I've heard of riders crossing the country on these bikes, logging thousands of miles with ease. This innovation offered riders a much smoother, more comfortable experience compared to the rigid frames of earlier models. Combine that with the already legendary panhead engine, a reliable 1200cc powerhouse, and you've got a hell of a bike. Number 5, the 2006 V-Rod CVO. This is a pretty cool bike in its own right, powered by a 1250 CV twin using big bore cylinders. It produces 123 horsepower, almost 100 pounds of torque, revs to almost 9,000 RPM, and was one of the fastest Harley Davidsons you could buy up until the Pan America. Although it's from 2006, it easily competes with today's bikes. The Revolution engine, developed in collaboration with Porsche, really pushed the boundaries of what a Harley could be. This was no traditional air-cooled V-twin. Instead, it featured dual overhead cams, liquid cooling, and a high-revving design that set it apart from Harley's classic lineup. The engine's smooth delivery and thrilling top-end performance made it a game-changer for Harley Davidson, appealing to a new generation of riders looking for sportier, high-performance machines. One of the most impressive feats of the 2006 V-Rod CVO was its ability to combine speed with precision engineering. The hydroformed frame wasn't just a design feature, it was a major leap forward in motorcycle chassis technology. By reducing weight and increasing rigidity by 50%, Harley gave the bike unparalleled stability, even at high speeds. And speaking of high speeds, the V-Rod CVO wasn't just fast in theory. It proved itself on the salt flats of Bonneville, clocking an incredible 142 miles per hour in stock form. Number 4, the 1965 Panhead Electra Glide. This was the bike that made electric starters a reality, opening the door for countless riders who didn't want to kickstart a big V-twin. Harley spent 2 years perfecting the 12-volt electrical system, ensuring reliability in any condition. The King of the Highway package offered hard saddlebags, weather-tested for durability, and the Panhead engine received upgrades to handle sustained high-speed cruising. It became a favorite for riders who wanted to cross state lines without worrying about reliability or comfort. Compared to the Knucklehead, the Panhead brought a significant innovation to Harley Davidson's engine design: the introduction of hydraulic valve lifters, also known as hydraulic tappets. This technology, which Harley still uses today and is widely adopted by other engine manufacturers with pushrod motors, was a game-changer. Hydraulic lifters eliminate the need for manual valve adjustment by using oil pressure to compensate for slack in the valve train that develops during operation. Here's why this is so important. As panhead engines run, their large pistons and heads generate significant heat, causing the metal to expand. This thermal expansion actually makes the cylinders grow taller, which can lead to the push rods becoming too short relative to the expanded cylinder, creating loose valves. When the engine cools, the reverse happens, and the valves can become too tight if manually adjusted while the engine is hot. The beauty of hydraulic lifters is that they adjust automatically. By compensating for these changes on the fly, they maintain proper valve clearance regardless of engine temperature. This not only solves the problem of loose or overly tight valves, but also results in much quieter operation. It's a brilliantly simple yet effective solution to a complex problem, and one of the many reasons why the Panhead was such an advancement in Harley Davidson's engineering evolution. Number 3. The 2012 Road King. This is the first year of the Rushmore models, and Harley took everything they'd learned about touring bikes and poured it into this model. One of the standout changes is with the saddlebag lids. Previously, you had to pop up one latch, then the other, and kind of wrestle with the lid to open it, and I always found this personally very frustrating. But with this model, you just lift the latch and the lid's open. Easy and intuitive. No fuss. The twin-cam 103 engine also delivers the perfect mix of torque and reliability, with 10,000 test miles ensuring flawless fuel injection mapping. The 6-speed transmission transformed highway cruising, while the air-adjustable suspension let riders fine-tune the ride for any load. Police departments across the country put this bike through grueling 30,000-mile endurance tests, and it passed every challenge with ease. Its detachable windshield, perfected through wind tunnel testing, reduced fatigue at highway speeds, making the Road King more appealable to daily commuters. I've always been a huge fan of the simplicity of the Road King, and this model takes that to another level. Part of what makes it so appealing is what it doesn't have. No lower fairing, no upper fairing, no radio, just a clean, minimalist design. Fewer gadgets means fewer things that can break, and as a bonus, it's also about 100 pounds lighter than its flashier, ultra-limited counterpart. The lighter weight, combined with its streamlined design, makes it a joy to ride, proving that sometimes less really is more. Number 2, the 1940 WLA. This bike wasn't just built to ride, it was built to survive. Harley created the WLA for military use during World War II, and every detail was designed for combat conditions. The 45 cubic inch engine was tested for 50 hours at full throttle, ensuring it could handle the harshest environments. An oil bath air cleaner kept the engine running in desert sandstorms, and triple-sealed electrical connections allowed it to ford streams up to 16 inches deep. These bikes carried soldiers through everything from Russian mud to Pacific Island beaches, with over 90,000 units deployed during the war. Many WLAs made their way home with returning veterans, becoming the foundation for post-war custom bike culture. Okay, now this was obviously a really tough choice, but it is a personal one, and I totally get it if you don't agree. But my number 1 is the 1990 Fat Boy, designed by Willie G. Davidson and Louis Netz. There were only around 4,000 of these bikes manufactured, so they are pretty rare. This was actually one of the first bikes I ever owned. My dad was a big bike guy too, and he managed to snag it pretty cheap at an auction. It was in pretty rough shape, so we spent about a year fixing it up together. But I still have this bike now, and it runs fine. I've always liked the design of the Fat Boy. The silver paint, inspired by the B-29 bomber, required a special 7-stage process to achieve its unique finish. The bike's real moment of fame came in Terminator 2, when Arnold Schwarzenegger rode it into legend. I think from then, the Fat Boy became an instant cultural phenomenon, doubling Harley's sales overnight, and solidifying its place as one of the most iconic motorcycles of all time. I would love to hear from you guys. Maybe your top 10 would look completely different, or maybe you have a couple of these bikes in your garage. Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, ride safe.